okra plant growing tips starting right now. Okay, so I love to grow okra, and the main reason for that is because okra is one of the few plants that loves the heat. Okra is related to hibiscus and other mallow family plants. It is native to Africa, and that's where it gets its heat-loving properties from. I'm going to be sharing with you how you're going to start from seed. These seeds, as you can tell by its fancy packaging, are ones that we collected from our harvest in 2018. Now, normally seeds only last a year or so, but our okra seeds have been really great in their longevity and being viable years later than what they should be. You can also, of course, just buy seed packets from your favorite seed purchasing source. This is some okra Louisiana Green Velvet from Fairy Morse. And this is emerald okra from Mike the Gardener. Some friends of mine put me on a mailing list for Mike the Gardener, and I got seed packets in the mail, and that was super cool. There are multiple varieties of okra. I suggest if you enjoy eating okra that you try as many as possible. This one, I believe, is the emerald variety, but I've seen different varieties that are purple, that are red, some are big and fat, which would be perfect for frying. So go out there and explore the different varieties of okra. So how did we end up with all these seeds? Well, it started with the end of our season where we let a few of the pods mature and dry. So once you let that happen, you're going to want to put your dried pod in a bag, because when you're harvesting the seeds, they tend to explode all over the place. So I know I'm mixing yours, but it's okay. And then you just dig in with your nails and you split open the okra. So I'm going to be daring and show you outside of the bag so you can see what this looks like. But if you can see, there are channels inside the okra where the seeds lay. So there's seeds right in there. When you're harvesting seeds for your next season, you want to make sure that your seeds are this color, kind of a dark gray. If you find any seeds that are still white, they probably aren't mature enough, and so they probably won't germinate. I'm going to go ahead and quick harvest these in my bag before I make a big mess. All right, now that I've harvested the okra seeds from this okra pod, you can see what is left is very fibrous. And this is one of the reasons why eating okra is so beneficial to you. It is a high fiber food. Some other good reasons why to eat okra is because it's high in antioxidants and it's nutrient rich. One of the things that some people sometimes complain about eating okra is that they say that it's a bit slimy. This tends to be more prevalent in the more mature okra, so I always suggest that you harvest them young. But that slime is actually good for you. It is called mucilage, and it binds to cholesterol. So when you're eating it, anything that has cholesterol is cholesterol laden with the other foods that you're eating, the mucilage will bind to that and help it pass through your body rather than collect in places you don't want it to. It's also really good for your gut flora, and gut health is a super hot topic right now, and we're learning so much about how important that is for your overall health. So, how to grow okra? Well, here's some tips. First of all, to help aid in moisture absorption and germination, soak your seeds in a glass of water for 12 to 18 hours. So you just take a glass of water, preferably non-chlorinated because that's bad, and you're just going to put in some seeds and let them absorb all that water. On the left, you can see the soaked seeds that have already sprouted, and on the right, you can see the unsoaked seeds. Second thing is they are heat loving, as I said, so you want to make sure the temperature of your soil is 65 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. So if you live in the north, that may be a problem and shorten your growing period, so you can grow your seedlings inside before that soil temperature reaches that point. and then transplant them once the soil is the proper temperature. You want to make sure the soil is well draining, but other than that, okra really doesn't care. That's another great property about okra is they're not very particular. They do grow rather fast and vigorously, so it's always a good idea to prep your soil with a good compost mixture. Compost is perfect for okra because it's going to help the soil absorb water, which will cut down on your watering for your okra plants even more. If your soil tends to compact and doesn't drain as well, you are also going to want to add a substance to it that will help in drainage, because one of the things that okra really doesn't like is wet roots. You also want to make sure that the pH of your soil is neutral. 6.5 to 7 is a good range, though again, okra isn't particularly particular. As I said before, these are drought tolerant plants, so watering them is really easy. They only need about an inch of water every week. So if you add compost to your soil, that again is going to help with the moisture retention, and your okra will thrive and be happy. Germination of the seeds takes 2 to 12 days. And that, of course, varies based on how warm their environment is and if you did the pre-soaking trick. If you don't direct sow seeds into the soil because your soil isn't warm enough, you're going to start your okra seeds in little pots. I recommend using a biodegradable pot, such as a peat pot, so that way you don't have to disturb their roots when transplanting, because their roots are very fragile and that can harm your okra plant's growth. When you do go to transplant your seedlings, you're going to plant them roughly half an inch deeper than they were when they were in their original pots. Again, okra is really fast growing, so once they mature enough and start blooming, you're going to want to check on these pods every day. They can go from bloom to edible pod in just 24 hours. And once they get too big, then they start to get extra fibrous and woody and really aren't good to eat. So I suggest harvesting them when they're anywhere from 2 to 4 inches long. Okra plants can grow as tall as 8 feet. So this is something you want to keep in mind when figuring out where you're going to place them. You want to make sure that the shade that they cast doesn't affect any neighboring plants. And you want to make sure that if you plant them like we do in the raised garden bed, you have enough room or way to harvest them once they get that tall. Another trick is mid-season you can prune them to keep them to a more reasonable height for harvesting. Another odd trait of okra is they have these little tiny hairs that can be very irritating to people's skin. So when handling your okra plants and harvesting, I suggest you wear gloves. Also, their stems are very thick, so just pulling the fruit off isn't going to be helpful. You're going to want to use a good pair of sharp gardening shears, so that way you can collect your fruit without harming your plant. Some troubleshooting with okra is, number one, cold weather. Okra hates cold weather, and if you get a freak cold snap, then that's probably going to be the end of your season for okra. Also, the problems we've had in the past with okra are primarily root knot nematode and aphids. So if you companion plant marigolds with your okra, they will keep both the root knot nematodes and the aphids at bay. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you decide to try your hand at growing okra. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on City Steading Garden and Grow.